Okay, the clock just hit 2 o'clock. We're going to get started on time. My name's Al Boldy. I'm a member of your golf committee, and I'd like to welcome you all to our spring golf town hall. I see faces of people that have been to several of these, and we appreciate that you attend and are interested in what we have to say at these, getting an update and getting a chance to answer questions that or ask questions and us to get you the best answers that we can. I see members of several golf associations in the audience, and I appreciate that, as well as members of our HOA board and our golf committee. I also welcome those of you who just came to because you're interested in the golf enterprise and what's been happening and what the plans are in the future. I want to let you know this will be recorded and will be available for those that can't make it today. And so you might pass the word to them that there'll be an announcement coming out soon as to how to click in on that. Today you'll hear from Matt Hudson, Director of Golf, Paul Halleck, Director of Golf Course Maintenance, and Matt Cambick, Chairman of our Golf Committee. Program will last about 90 minutes. At the end, we'll have microphones for you to come and ask your questions directed to the people here on the stage. And that's it. With that in mind, we're ready to go. I'll turn it over to Matt Hudson.
All right, thanks, Al. Good afternoon, everyone. All right, thanks. As some of you know from Men's Day, I like an answer to that, so I'll try it again. Good afternoon, everybody. All right, good stuff. Thank you. Welcome. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Matt Hudson. I'm the Director of Golf Operations, and we're going to talk about a few things here. Go ahead and fire away, Al. All right, so today we're going to talk about where we are, so 2022 to date, talk a little bit about revenue, where we are 2022 to date, kind of some opportunities for us to drive some revenue with some outside play groups we've had some success with, where we've been. So 2018, when we took over and acquired the golf operation as an HOA, through 2021 and 2022 year to date. Some total revenue, talk about revenue by golf course, and then obviously where we're going, and talk a little bit about the golf car fleet, since that's kind of been our biggest venture. Next, Al. Yep. Okay, so first and foremost, one of the things that we just finished up at the end of March was our Mountain View Collegiate. That was the 23rd year, I believe, for the 23rd year for the Mountain View Collegiate. It was March 17th through the 20th. This year we had 90 players. We usually float between 80 and 90 players as we host this event. There is kind of a rumor, and the reason why I wanted to talk about this, there's a rumor going around the community, and some of you may or may not have heard this, that we donate the golf courses for this event during literally the busiest time of the year, and that is just not true. This year, our total just in greens fee revenue, just a little over $16,000. So that doesn't include any spectator cards, any merchandise sold in the golf shops, any food and beverage revenue, any ancillary revenue that comes along with that. Just in greens fees were $16,200. Congratulations to our team champions of Texas Tech this year. And a big thank you. I wanted to make sure that I made mention of two individuals, and one of them is in the room and one of them couldn't make it today. But the first one that's in the room is Joe Helms. So stand up, Joe. Oh, just stand up. Joe is she is the resident volunteer coordinator for the event. Thank you, Joe. And she does a wonderful, wonderful job. And we couldn't provide the experience that we provide to the players without people like Joe and her team. So, Joe, thank you, and thank you some more. The other person that he couldn't be in the room today, but Mike Carpy, our other golf professional, one of our other golf professionals, he and I work pretty closely together, but he does a massive amount of the heavy lifting for that event, scoring, scoreboards, making sure staff knows where they're supposed to be, so on and so forth. So a big thank you to Mike, even though he's not here. Let's see. So we have a few other events, some outside play groups. One of the things that we're trying to, is kind of a big point, is supplementing daily greens fee revenue with some more outside play groups, with also trying to not impact the residents' play as much as possible. So one of our big victories this year is we were able to get the Oro Valley American Legion event back to SaddleBrooke. And I know Larry McNamee's in the room someplace. There he is right here. Thank you to Larry for helping out with that as well. We greatly appreciate that. That's a great event. We locked them in for, I believe, the next 3 years. So we're excited to have them here. Another event, Southern District Ladies, was 112 ladies. That is a great event for the club as well. And Joe had a hand in that as well. I believe you're the president of Southern District, aren't you, Joe? Okay, so thank you again for that. And then, of course, some smaller ones. Intel Golf League is a group that's coming out of Phoenix to come down and see us at the Preserve this summer. Southern Arizona men's group. We actually have a group on Fridays that, when Vistoso closed, we have a group on Fridays that they equate to about $45,000 to $50,000 a year just in greens fees revenues during the busy time of the season. So we're trying to work to provide, or to book more groups like that to try and supplement that daily greens fee revenue. Fitting days. Fitting days have been great, to be perfectly honest with you. We've been over $100,000 in sales each year since 2019, since we started to put these programs together. So, and honestly, it's just about providing opportunities. So some of the vendors that some of the residents may have wanted to see, but maybe haven't been able to see in the past, or just getting them here on property so that you can spend your credit book money or spend your money with the HOA rather than go down to the PGA Tour Superstore or go down to Vans. So again, it's about providing revenue, and fitting days have equated to over $400,000 in revenue since 2018. So it's been a really successful program. Sip and swing. Mike actually came up with the sip and swing last year in the fall. We talked a little bit about it and started putting that together. We did monthly events with that and average about 30 golfers per event. This last one, we had 36. It was a really good sized group. But basically it's show up, you get 45 to 50 minutes of instruction, and then you go down and have the real fun, which is go have a cocktail down in the bar. So, and then get golf ready. And the reason I bring these two up, the sip and swing, they get golf ready, because that's part of our pledge to try and bring new golfers to the operation, right? Bring new golfers to HOA2 golf. Growing the game inside the community is one of our big focuses. Go ahead, Al. All right. Excuse me. Moving on. 2022 to date, through March of 2022, we are basically flat to the number of rounds from 2021 to 2022. We're 200 rounds short. We did realize quite a bit more frost. Who likes playing in the wind this winter, especially the last 6 weeks? It's been kind of brutal, right? So without the significant frost delays that we had compared to 2021 and the wind and whatnot, feel like we could have been quite a bit better than 2021 with number of rounds. So moving on to annual pass holders, we do have 375 total annual pass holders for 2022. That equates to $1.433 million in total revenue just from the annual pass holders. That number of units is down to 24 from 2021. We did assume that there was going to be a little bit of a contraction in the number of annuals just because of a lot of the COVID restrictions were being relaxed. So a lot of folks were more comfortable traveling, so on and so forth. So they're spending their money traveling a little bit more rather than playing as much golf as they have in the past. So these three items, this is just a breakdown of the type of annual pass holders we have. The revenue that we receive from that type. So afternoon annual is about just short of $46,000. The second person annual, so the second person in the household, just shy of $243,000. And then the first person annual, so first person in the household, $1.145 million. So as you can see, annual pass holders, super, super important to the success of our golf operation. Go ahead, Al. So as I said, annual pass holders, the number of annual pass holders we have did contract just a little bit. And we actually, next slide, Al. Actually, I think I skipped one. Go ahead and go back one. Yep, here we go. Sorry. So 2022 to date, 2018 through 2022, I think my slide got a lot out of order. I apologize. But if you look, we've increased annual passes each year since 2018. And that is a direct result, in my opinion, of condition of the golf course. And I know we're going to talk about that when we get to Paul in a little bit here. But we have slowly but surely increased and gotten better with course conditions every year, and I think that's a big deal, and it shows in our numbers as well. Go ahead, Al. So again, with the contraction, the small contraction that we had in annual pass holders, we are actually seeing an increase from last year in our punch card sales. So from 2018 to 19, we increased each year. From 2020 to 2021, we came down about, what is that, about almost $90,000. But we went up significantly in annuals that year. From 21 to 22, we saw a decrease or a contraction in some of the annuals. However, our punch card sales have increased, and we're not even halfway through the year yet. So we went from 315,000 basically to 333,000. So we're up $18,000, and we've still got the rest of the year. So why is that important? It's important to realize that the second half of the year is still to come, because some folks who bought punch cards in the winter, in January, February, so on and so forth, if they use all of those punches, then a lot of times we see a lot more of those punch cards in October, November be purchased as well. So this number is going to do nothing but grow as we get to the end of 2022. Go ahead, Al. All right, so where we've been 2018, and I typoed, should be through 2021. We started out in 2018 with total revenue of almost $2.6 million. And as you can see, we've continually grown, whereas in 2021 was the first year that we cracked the $3 million mark. So had a really good year in 2021, up almost $300,000 from 2020 to 2021 with the biggest jump. The biggest jump actually, yeah, from 2020 to 2021. Go ahead, Al. Okay, next. Revenue dollars by golf course, revenue percent by golf course. If you look at the chart on the left, in 2018, 1.2 to 1.3 million. Yellow is Mountain View. The orange is Preserve. Almost pretty close to even in 2019. And if you remember in 2019, that's when we had the significant grassing operation on the Mountain View golf course. So 2020, conditions were dramatically better, especially in the fairways at Mountain View. So you notice how now we've kind of flipped the script here. Mountain View is the big revenue producer at 1.58 million, and Preserve at 1.245. And then the same trend continued in 2021. Basically 45-55% split, 55 to Mountain View, 45 to Preserve. So although we've increased revenue, that split kind of flipped from 18-19 to 2021. So again, the chart on the right basically just shows Mountain View is the yellow line, 48-52%. And again, Mountain View just keeps creeping up there. So 56 in 2020, 54 in 2021, with Preserve being a little bit lower. Go ahead, Al. All right, so where we're going, golf cars are the next big thing, right? So last month, the board did approve a purchase of a new golf car fleet. That fleet will be delivered in the first quarter of 2023. Golf car producers are not immune to the supply chain issues and so on and so forth. Plus the recent boom in golf over the last year and a half to 2 years, a lot of facilities are purchasing or leasing brand new golf cars. So once we got the approval, we got in line. The new fleet again will be coming in the first quarter of 2023. There was some infrastructure that was approved along with that decision as well. One of our big projects coming up is canopies. So we will have a roof over each golf cart storage facility, which is a huge, huge deal because, as I'm sure all of you know, we all live in the desert. We have 330 some odd days of sunshine, and that sunshine is really just as brutal on stuff that stays outside or is stored outside as if you were in the winter back in the Midwest or the East Coast or so on and so forth. So that is a really, really big deal for us to help extend the life of our assets. Along with that canopy there's a little bit of electrical work that has to be done. Not quite as much electrical work as if we would have purchased electric golf cars, but there's some electrical work that has to be done, and we are going with 76 gasoline-powered golf cars. But that electrical work that needs to be done will just help us set ourselves up in the future for an electric golf car fleet. So again, we're going with gasoline-powered golf cars from Club Car. So that's kind of where we're headed with that. Go ahead, Al. All right, I'm going to pass it over to Paul here, but you can hold all your questions till the end and we'll go from there. Thank you so much.
All right, hello everyone. How are we today? Good? I'm good so far. Let's keep it that way, right? All right, Al, let's roll right into this. So this is a slide I like to start with. It shows our journey that we've been on. This picture here represents 2020, as does this one. This is number 1 at Preserve. This is number 18. And then we get to this after a lot of our efforts had gone on, and these are the current day pictures. These were last year, but if I went out and took a picture, they would look very similar right now. So I just want to share that with everyone. This is where we were. This is where we're at and going to. So much happier place. All right, some of my talking points are going to be the year to date. Just going to give a quick update on where we are year to date. Going to talk a little bit about the transition process that we're following. Get everyone prepared and ramped up for the aerification process that comes on around May, June. I have a chart about some water usage and then the future. So far to date, we delivered a completed Preserve master plan. The Mountain View master plan was completed last year. Preserve was completed this spring. We continue to control the poa annua and the volunteer ryegrass that's on the Mountain View greens. So when you control the poa annua and the weeds that are on those greens, you're going to leave some voids, right? When you do this stuff, when the Bermuda's dormant, you leave voids. So I have some pictures of transition, and I'll leave it, and I'll speak to that when we get there. I early ordered as many chemicals as I possibly could to try and stay ahead of the huge cost increases and supply chain issues. A couple of things to note on this is I ordered some fertilizer last year at this time. It was $1,200. I ordered it just last week. It's $2,500, same order. I ordered Roundup last year to use to kill some weeds, $15 a gallon. I paid $51 a gallon this year. All right, and so this just shows you where we're at for some of these huge, huge increases. I ordered all the approved equipment as early as I could. So once in November, when the budget dried, I was getting to work and trying to get our equipment on order. We still have not received much, if any of it. I have an update meeting with our supplier on Thursday to get some new dates for delivery of all that equipment. It has all been ordered, though. This one's huge. Fuel prices, we're all feeling it, right? We just feel it tremendously on the golf course because everything we do now gets really into heavy fuel usage. During the winter, we're mowing less, use less fuel. Summertime, we mow day in, day out. So the fuel line is a real tough one right now. I participated in the successful RFP with HOA1 for the fairway top dressing sand. We go together on this. More tons of sand equals a better price. So they group us together. So if I'm using 4,000 tons and they're using 3,000 tons, that's 7,000 tons. We get a much better price than if I went alone and they went alone. And this has worked out good the past couple of years. So we do this on the sand because it's an easy one. We also do it on seed because that's another big commodity item. And we're researching any avenues where I can work together with them and they can work with us to get better pricing overall for the whole SaddleBrooke as one. We had the pre-bid conference for the Mountain View Hard Reset. That was on March 22nd. We had 5 contractors slated to attend, only 4 could. The 5th one was sick. We added a 6th contractor that called in and said they would like to be added, so we added them. And since then, we've contracted down to 3, right, contractors. So we went from 5 to 6 to 3. So right now, the bids are due in this week, and we expect to get 3 bids in for that project. We've all worked diligently together on the education campaign with the golf committee. I send out a Saturday e-blast, probably not 52 weeks a year, I would say 45 weeks a year that goes out. Town hall type meetings as we sit right now, another one of these. So we work diligently on trying to get our education campaign going and be out in front of any issues, problems, any questions, the whole 9 yards. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about transition. We technically started the day after the Women's Collegiate, so March 21st. And we go through transition on both golf courses, they're the same but different, right? So here's Preserve. We didn't overseed, and that's all Bermuda grass. It's already green, it's already filled in, it's ready for play, right? But it just doesn't happen. This still takes weeks of the right temperatures and Mother Nature to get there. And then there's microclimates, so some holes may not look as sweet as this does right now, but it's a work in progress, right? So it's all Mother Nature driven. Mountain View is a little different. We sprayed Mountain View. We're onto our 3rd application to remove the overseed. So you get this modeling that you can see here. So you get pockets of ryegrass that it all dies off at a different time. And you get these pockets where it's gone and the Bermuda's starting to take hold already. Here's a picture of transition on the green, so you can see the difference. And this one's hard to see, but Preserve, you can see the overall is just getting brown. It's changing. You got patches of Bermuda, you got a little bit of ryegrass and trivialis here and there. But over here on Mountain View, this is what I want to point out. You can see some of these voids in this picture, and that is because of the applications for POA control and the volunteer weeds. So remember, we overseeded these collars and fairways. So any seed that we put on there that still wasn't germinated when we opened, or more seed that we put down to address weak areas, has the potential to track onto this green. And when it does track, it'll grow, right? It'll grow in some voids. So there's always applications that are going to be needed when you have non-overseeded greens. All right, we're going to go into the heavy-duty aerification period. Starts on the 31st of May, right after the holiday. It's pretty much 6 weeks straight, although we're taking a week off in the middle, and there'll be no aerification for 1 week. So it'll be 3 weeks at Mountain View, 1 week both golf courses open, then 3 weeks at Preserve. This is on the greens. This is one of the processes we do on the greens. I had this fancy slide that was going to move and groove and all kinds of stuff, but I couldn't get it to work, so I just went with the picture. This is a deep tine on greens. If you notice these tines, they penetrate the ground 9, 10, 11 inches deep, right? So this goes almost all the way down to the rock. So on a USGA green, there's a 12 to 16 inch base of modified sand. Under that, there's 4 inches of gravel and then the drainage. We get these babies down 9 to 10 inches in the ground. This helps tremendously to break up any layering. It opens up pathways for oxygen, for water, just channels for everything to get happier. This is in the rough. This is a slicing unit, but we do, slice the rough at least twice during the aerification period also. These are the fairway aerifiers. We go in tandem. First application is the top dressing sand. We go wall to wall on the fairway. Then the aerifiers come behind and we aerify the sand in. After the aerifiers punch the sand into the ground, we brush. After we brush, we clean off all the sprinkler heads and then we water. And that process keeps going. Sand, aerify, brush, clean, water, until all the sand's gone. So whatever sand we pile up in the parking lots before aerification will all be exhausted during this 3-week process. And as the heavy hitter, at the end of it all for the last week, we get this 1-ton roller, and we roll everything that we can, including greens, numerous times to smooth everything back out. We use it on tees. We don't go wall-to-wall fairways, but if we have a rough spot where there was less rooting and we get some, bumpity bumps, we roll those out too. So this just highlights a little bit of the aerification process. It's tremendously labor intensive. It's 3 weeks of closure at each golf course. It's a yearly necessity. This process really, really sets the table for the success of the other 49 weeks of the year. And that's why we go after it. It allows us to do all the work as needed in the most efficient and uninterrupted manner possible. We have so many guys in different spots and so many processes going on that it would be impossible to putt greens or anything while we're in this process. To do it right, it would be impossible. There's other tasks that happen when we're closed, so we just don't do aerification. We also have sodding. We do some tree work. We usually repair as much cart paths as we got money for. We edge everything, cart paths, bunkers. We push the sand, what little sand's left in the bunkers, we push that around the best we can. We have yardage plaques all over the place. We edge and clean those, paint those back up. We readjust hazard lines and stakes. We adjust and paint as needed. And this one here is huge. I go through every sprinkler head on each golf course, and we get a list generated and we repair those. That's roughly 3,500 sprinkler heads that I look at in that 6-week period. So this slide is our overall water usage from 2018 to 2021, and this was a question-generated slide. So I try to learn something every day. In one of the other town halls, I learned that someone asked this question, so maybe I should put a slide in. So here it is. This is our water usage broken out by year and by Mountain View and Preserve. And the big takeaway for this is the trend line. It's going down. This year here, major, major drought. We might have been the hottest year and the driest year on record. I can't remember the exact stats, but they were pretty close to 1 on both. Obviously, last year we had a good amount of rain, right? And we caught up a lot. But so you can see the trend line overall is we're moving the needle down on water usage, which is a good thing, not only for the environment, but for our grass, right? Because I think everyone might agree with me, maybe some not, but golf plays better on a dry surface, right? Not in a swamp. So this is part of my methodology, and the trend line proves out that we're working towards water savings. Let's talk a little bit about the future. I think this first one's huge, right? Continue to collaborate with the golf committee and the board of directors. I think this past 16 months that we've been kind of employing this strategy, we've really moved the needle forward on a lot of stuff, right? And, it's gotten a lot better, and there's just an open dialogue to have communications. We're trying to implement and follow this 3-phase process to make our golf courses better. And it's pretty simple, right? So one is we set expectations. These expectations should come from the golf committee, homeowners, and the voice of the customer. Check. 2, I get these expectations. I build plans and strategies, right? So I built with expectations in mind. They include the business plan, the agronomic plan, the budget, the capital improvements, and the reserve fund. All this I dive into yearly, right? So it's not, we have one budget since 2018, one business plan since 2018. That's what we run with. We update this stuff. I update a lot of stuff daily, but this stuff goes, every year. And then funding. This comes in the form of budget approvals for the requests to meet the expectations required. And that's the 3-phase process we're trying to follow along to have the most success we can. At times, expectations and strategies will have to change to align with funding, right? Right now, we're spending a lot of money on gasoline. We're spending a lot of money on fertilizer. And so sometimes these expectations and strategies will have to change as we move. The bids are due back this week, like I said, for the hard reset project. We're going to reconcile the bids, and hopefully with 3 qualifying bids being sent to the board of directors for analysis. There's going to be a board meeting, working board meeting on 5/12. Mike Gogol, Marvin Mills, and myself will be there for question and answers. Gogol is the master plan architect who did all the design work, and Marvin Mills is the irrigation system consultant who did all the design work for the irrigations. I'm just there, I don't know why. We're going to hope to have a board decision and contracts in the works by the end of May 2022 for the approved projects, with a project start date of around April to May 2023. This goes back to when we had 6 contractors that were interested. 3 of them have pulled out because of the timeline. They're already too busy, don't have the horsepower to do the work that we need next year. So we're getting smarter. We've already learned that 1 year in advance probably isn't enough in the new world. We might have to be 18 months in advance to get the contractors for the next go-around. We have a yearly USGA visit. That's going to be on the 20th of June. And hopefully he's going to confirm we're going in the proper direction with all our programs. Have some suggestions for us also. Continue to have a full 3 weeks of closure for each golf course at aerification and overseed time. It's a 6-week closure for the year between each golf course. But it helps produce the conditions for the other 46 weeks in the year, without a doubt. If we don't have this 6 weeks, these other 46 weeks get robbed. All right, this didn't happen last year. We were shortcut on a Mountain View overseed. And we didn't put our best foot forward, right, with that overseed. And we played catch up all winter. And that is it. On that note, it's Mr. Cambick's time. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Well, the first thing I want to do is thank all of you all for coming out today to hear what's going on with our golf enterprise. So thanks. I got to ask a question because Pat's here. How many non-golfers are here? You're a golfer. Okay, the reason why I asked that question is Pat's been counseling me is that non-golfers are just as interested in what's going on with golf as the golfers are. And so I welcome you all here today as well. Last October, we had our last town hall meeting and I got counseled. And of course, like every counseling session, it wasn't positive. Great information, Matt, but it was much too long. And I was probably the culprit because I was trying to tell you all everything I knew about where we were going. And clearly, some people didn't want to know. So I have made myself notes, and I'm going to discipline myself not to wander off like I have the habit of doing. Matt, Paul, and I committed ourselves to having a 90-minute meeting, and they've done real good. We're only 32 minutes into this thing, so thank you for giving me a couple extra minutes. So, let me talk about our golf enterprise. It consists of our golf courses, our golf shops, our maintenance facilities, more than $2 million worth of golf maintenance equipment, and our on-course equipment and facilities. And so I did show you this chart back in October. You've had the opportunity to listen to Matt and Paul as they discuss key drivers to their respective areas of operation. I want to publicly thank both Matt and Paul for their efforts to do what they do on a daily basis. It allows us to play golf every day here, minus the 6 weeks that Paul needs. But there's only 2 days a year the golf course is closed outside our maintenance periods. If you would you let those 2 guys know how much you appreciate what they're doing for us? Next slide. So I'm going to take a couple minutes to briefly take you back on this journey we've been on. I've been the chairman of the golf committee for 16 months now, and what an education these months have provided. I understand more fully and appreciate the role of the board, the staff, and the golf committee, and the imperatives associated with organizational alignment, a common operating picture, and a willingness to collaborate. Let's go back to January 1st, 2018. We took ownership of all of this. It was part of the final transition with RCI. Matt Hudson was already on board, and it would take us 5 more months to get Paul Halleck hired. Stated bluntly, our course conditions were very poor. The RCI strategy revolved around heavy ryegrass overseed, which was maintained as deep into the summer as possible, given what Mother Nature would allow, and heavy watering. The Mountain View greens were POA infested. They were virtually non-puttable in cold weather season until Mother Nature won out in the summer with the heat. And the fairways, when I moved here in 2014, had more dirt than they have Bermuda grass, and not much changed in 2018. In 2019, Paul and his team executed the Mountain View Bermuda grass campaign, which saw us playing on a 12-hole golf course during the summer. The grassing operation in that year was funded out of the reserve funds. In 2020, Paul did something unique. You remember that slide he showed you with the dirt fairways in 2020? That was after his chemical takedown of the rye. And we got the full realization of just how bad the Bermuda grass base was on the preserve. Another grassing campaign ensued, and 10 holes were sprigged and sodded. But because Mother Nature always gets a vote, we did most of that work twice that year. In 2021, there were still 8 holes that needed to be addressed at the preserve. And another grassing campaign was pulled off last summer by Team Halleck. 30,000 square feet of sod were laid. This work was also funded through the operations budget. I share that with you because it's been a journey, and it hasn't always been a well thought out or connected journey we've been on. Next slide. So I want to talk to you about my little pet peeve of systems integration. I point out the activities of these 4 years because there are important lessons for you and I. We did not have a plan that connected the dots from a vision to strategies required to produce the vision to a budget process that accurately allocated resources to produce a desired outcome. If you don't know where you're going, how you know you're going to get there? We validated we could do that. These shortcomings have been addressed over the last 16 months. We, the board, the staff, and our committee have created a common operating picture. We've identified the tasks associated with improving course conditions and rebuilding our courses. Early this year, the golf committee produced Vision 2050, which we call the SaddleBrooke HOA2 Golf Enterprise Playbook. We took the 30-year reserve study, we tore it apart, and we built a strategy that made sense. And now I'm going to tell you it's not worth the paper it's written on, because of everything we've learned over the last several months keeps telling us or showing us what we didn't know when we did all that work. So we have more work to do. But it's a 172-page document that chronicles key data sets that we've experienced over the last 4 years and identifies all the requirements associated with taking the golf courses that we purchased and restoring them to the condition that we would all find acceptable. We have a vision statement that establishes expectations for what the golf course should be for all of us who play golf. Paul has produced strategies that are fully articulated in his business plans and agronomic plans to make those expectations a reality. And we have the integrated golf plan budget process that was created by our board treasurer and assistant treasurer last year. And I can report that the golf committee and the finance committee chaired by Pat Lenz, who's sitting here, are committed to greater collaboration as we partner and work our way through the budget process to ensure the requirements with the golf courses are addressed fully. I'm also proud to report to you that the 2022 operations budget is the most complete, and I call it the most competent budget this community has produced relative to the golf enterprise since we took ownership. That's my way of thanking the board and the finance committee for your efforts last year in making that budget a reality. Now I'll go back. So here's the critical outcome of 16 months' work. Having a vision, setting an expectations. How do you like our bunkers? Okay, I'm going to talk more about bunkers in a minute. But you have to have a vision. You have to have a target that we're going for. The golf courses we purchased in 2018 aren't the golf courses we want to be playing on in 2028. And so we crafted a vision. The golf committee crafted this vision and presented it to the board. And then Paul comes and he sets his economic strategies so he can produce that golf course. But that informs the budget process, because he can write anything he wants to on paper. But if we don't get those requirements clearly understood in the budget process, and the board doesn't approve it, our contract for execution, that's really important. When we came out in November, I knew that we had won, that we had what we needed for the golf course to be in the best condition. We could get it this year. When Paul gets that, I'm sorry, Al, stay there. When Paul gets that budget for execution, then he can devise this strategy. And there's things he does on our golf course every day. And he tickles the greens a couple times a week. And he rolls the greens 3 times a week. Grant, do you remember when we used to say, why can't RCI roll the damn greens? They get rolled 3 times a week. And so all the things that we need to produce a winning golf environment are happening. And of course, the playing conditions. Dormant Bermuda is not fun, is it? Next slide. We all hear the comments about the speed of progress, and I wish I had a magic wand that could make everything happen faster. But raising our golf course from the condition we inherited in 2018 to that vision that we articulate in our vision statement takes time, money, and sound program planning. The board, the staff, and the golf committee are all committed to and working on these requirements. We have made significant progress in collaboration, organizational alignment, and creating a common operating picture. We're seeing the problem sets from the same perspective. However, other than growing the grass and putting plans into motion, we're truly just getting started. We've come a long way since those dirt fairways and POA-infested greens were the norm. However, we cannot kid ourselves about how far we have yet to go. We as a community have not played on overseeded fairways on both of our courses at the same time since 2018. 2022 will be the first time that both courses are overseeded for winter play. Tough decisions were made to produce year-round grass, and you paid the price and made the sacrifice. We now have wall-to-wall Bermuda grass on both of our courses. I enjoy driving around the courses with Paul right now. It's fun to look at all that grass. The grassing operations, along with the board's commitment to fund the fairway top dressing program, we're enjoying the healthiest fairways that we've had since I moved here in 2014, and the future's only going to get brighter. And what I mean by that is a couple of years ago when the agronomist from the USGA came in, his name is Brian Whitlark, he told us what we needed to do to improve playing conditions. Sand top dressing was part of that campaign. I'm going to use my good friend Rhett Benedict back here, because Rhett didn't understand the significance or the importance of top dressing sand first time I brought it up. And the reason why you need a golf committee that's engaged is we do help educate members of the board on things that are critical. The fairway top dressing, our objective is to put 720 tons per acre of sand on our golf courses. We're at 95 tons. And what this allows him to do is have better root systems under our Bermuda grass, which allow them to tolerate the overseeding more effectively on a year in and year out basis. And that's why you have to understand what all the dots are, and you have to connect those dots. And the board has come on board in the last 2 years and helped support that initiative. And we're grateful. bunkers on both courses are another story. The Mountain View bunker complexes can only be described as deplorable. No two bunkers play the same. And these deficiencies will be addressed in our rebuild programs. And for all of you that keep sending me those emails, there are no shortcuts and there are no solutions short of the rebuild to fix the bunker situations that we find ourselves in. Next slide. So the real purpose I came here today was to jump up and down about what the board has to do right now. There are 7 people living in SaddleBrooke 2. They have some monumental decisions to make now. On the 22nd of March, we held our pre-bid conference. Paul's already briefed you on that. So here's the outcome. Wednesday, the bids are due. 2 days from today, we're supposed to have bids from our contractors that are bidding on our work. On the 26th of April, Mike Gogol, would you call him, our designer, and Paul have to take those bids and present them to Joyce, our board treasurer. And she gets to do the thing that she does. Looking at the bids, looking at the money. Everybody here needs to attend the 12 May board working meeting. Why? The Mountain View construction survey data is going to be presented there. I get asked daily about that survey. The board's going to release those results on the 12th. We have a conversation ongoing about should we do this work at Mountain View, the hard reset we call it, in 1 year or 2 years. That was the purpose of the survey that you responded to. That's going to be discussed on the 12th. And the Mountain View rebuild project scope and the project cost are going to be discussed on the 12th. I think that's pretty important information for everybody sitting in this room. I get asked routinely every time I show up about the survey, about the projects, about the cost. And Joyce will have all the answers on 12 May. That's going to be followed up very quickly by 18 May. On 18 May is the normal board meeting, regularly scheduled board meeting. And they're still going to be talking about the Mountain View hard reset rebuild. Because we got to get the final decisions on project scope and contractor selection. I hate to say there's a rush to crush, but there is. We got to get a contract signed so we can get the work completed on our timeline. So that's the real reason I asked you to be here today, was to be a big cheerleader for what the board is doing and will do and will present to us in the next couple of coming weeks. The real objective by the end of May is to have our work under contract. So if you attend those 2 meetings, you, like me, will know where the board is taking us. Next slide. So very briefly, I'd like to return to our playing conditions and our reputation. Our courses enjoy a negative reputation due to the playing conditions that we've experienced here over the past years. These criticisms have been warranted for the most part over the last several years. However, our playing conditions are improving at a much faster rate than our reputation. You can each join my team to become ambassadors of the truth, to help tell our story about what's going on with our golf courses. I know the bunkers suck, but you're going to play on the best fairways in SaddleBrooke. Write this down. You are going to play on the best fairways in SaddleBrooke 30 days from now. That includes HOA 1. I need you to help me tell that story. We need to convince our neighbors. We need to convince all those people who live on your street that are taking their golf dollars somewhere else. And most importantly, the haters, the naysayers that say our golf courses suck. We got to turn this narrative around. And so I am enlisting you to become part of that messaging team, part of that apparatus. When you go out there, I want you to remember the dirt fairways. I want you to remember the 3-foot wide collars with all of that volunteer grass. What did you call it, Matt? Goose grass? You remember those collars? Now you got beautiful collars. Now we can putt from the front of the green. That was really important for Tim Ward. That was really important. He's the happiest guy. His handicap's gone down several strokes. Just kidding, Tim. If you read the April SaddleBrooke Progress, then you got to read right here on the cover about the Lady Niners and their relationship with the Aviva Children's Services charity and the contributions they made to them. Front page. You got to read about the Mountain View Preserve Women's Golf Association and their President's Cup. And you got to read about the Mountain View Preserve Men's Golf Association Scramble. Stampede. And there were hole-in-one articles in there from my good friends Dave Hill and Dennis Marchand. And I was in the golf shop earlier today delivering my money for the member guest, and I looked on all of the boards. The lady putters have several articles that have been published. What I'm trying to say to you, there's a lot of people enjoying our golf courses and the opportunity to spend time there. And I need everybody to embrace the idea that if we're going to have fun, we might as well let everybody else know we're having fun. So I need you. I think I'm talking to the next slide. There you are. I need you to be my ambassadors of the truth. I need you to help get the story out. Things are getting better. Things are getting better. And if God loves us and things work out the right way this week, in the next coming weeks with the board decision making, and we get the contracts let, and we rebuild Mountain View next year, we can turn all of our attention towards the preserve. Wow, how quick that could happen. Next slide. I'm sorry, I forgot to look back there. That's my fault. I got to take a minute to thank my teammates. Work like this doesn't just happen. Mark Eckert's now a member of the board. I can't tell you how many spreadsheets he built for me last year. More than I could use. More than I can interpret. But I got Debbie over here, my vice chair. I've got non-golfer Campbell sitting down here. I got Lee sitting over here. Sam's here someplace. An awful lot of the messages that were delivered today came from my committee mates. They're out there playing golf with you every day, and they're listening, and they're fighting hard for you. I promise they're fighting hard for you. And I just want to say thanks to my mates. I appreciate what you do. Oh, go back. You got a little ahead of me again. I want to point out Byron and Mona. They recently left the committee. They've been on it since it was originally formed in 2018. Incredible mates, a depth of experience. They were invaluable in the advice and counsel they gave me. We just wore them out. Byron had too much on his plate. Mona's doing an awful lot in life. I'm sure most of you know who Byron and Mona are. Here's the good news. We recently had a volunteer fair. We got 4 prospective members out of the volunteer fair, and 2 prospective members answered our ad in the Monday message. My good friend Pat wants to know what I'm paying people to come join my committee, but the truth is, people are getting excited about what's happening with golf. And so we've got 3 vacancies, and we get 6 dudes fighting for those 3 vacancies. I'm going to find a way to make them all go to work, but the future's bright for the golf committee, and I just wanted to say thanks to my mates. Now you can go to the next slide. In closing, I want to emphasize the tremendous progress that we have experienced in working with the board and the staff over the past 16 months. The idea of a common operating picture, organizational alignment, and collaboration is playing out in front of your eyes. We went from a blank sheet of paper this time last year. We had our very first working session with the board to talk about golf 1 year ago, since we took ownership in 2018. In that 1 year, we're sitting here talking about coming to decisions on rebuilding the Mountain View Golf Course. It's been a hell of a year. And I want to say thanks to the board members that were part of that board, the board members that are part of this board that have to make all these decisions. And most importantly, I look forward to seeing you all on the 12th of May as we all come to engage with our board as they struggle with the decisions they're going to have to make. Thank you very much. Let's go to questions.
All right, that's the end of the presentation, and if you look at the clock, we did it all in 1 hour. That leaves the rest of you for questions and answers, if you have any. I'm sure some have been sparked in your mind. We have microphones on both sides. You can come down, ask a question, and we'll find out what the answer is, and when we're done with that, we're done. But I want to thank you all for being here and being interested. Spread the word to your mates out on the golf course, at your home, or at any meeting you go to. Okay, first question, Hank.
Hi, Al. First of all, I've been here 18 years. I was here when Preserve opened up, and until 2018, I really was not satisfied and happy with the condition of the courses. However, since Paul's come on board and Matt and his crew have gone into working with them, and especially with Matt Campick and Al, we've made a lot of progress. Now, there's only one thing that I'm curious about on the rebuild of Mountain View. I think it was a rumor or fact that we wanted to change the cart path from number 9 to number 10 on the hill behind the facilities we have. And I think that's a mistake. And I think it's a mistake for a couple of reasons. I know people are worried about with traffic in the parking lot, but the big mistake that I think that we're doing is we're putting cement golf path up on unlevel ground where we have potential runoff for monsoons, where we continually fix our cart paths throughout the golf course, and we're going to fix it at that point too. And it's going to cost a lot of money, from what I assume. But on top of it, we're just rebuilding and restoring our 2 facilities for the men and women restrooms down here at the front. And we're going to put, from what I understand, outhouses or bibbies up by 10. Otherwise, how are you going to get the people to come down and use facilities? So if you're doing, okay. What'd you do, turn on my hair again?
Hank, I don't know what they did to make you crazy mad.
What?
So when you show up on the 12th of May,
Hey, don't come so close.
when you show up on the 12th of May, Joyce is going to have the answers about the board's thinking on the cart path. Okay? So I understand you're not happy about the cart path.
I don't like the idea.
I got it.
Because it also will cost us more money in the long run for maintenance. Okay? And I know for your wife, my wife, and all the wives on the committee, if there's something like an outhouse down at the other end on 10, it's going to be real miserable.
We're going to keep the restrooms open.
Excuse me?
We're going to keep the restrooms open.
I know because we're rebuilding. I mean, the idea behind it was to save time going across the back and worry about coming in down. You're going to get on top and you're going to have to come back down.
Yeah, he's repeating himself. He's just making sure that I got it, okay? He's not a fan of the cart path going behind Mountain View. I got it, sir. I got it. I don't have an answer for you, but I got your concern.
Okay. And money too.
Yeah, it's money too.
Guys, nice presentation. I enjoyed it. Some of the slides, Paul, were sort of hard to see. I have a particular interest in water use, and I really couldn't see the slide very well. I thought I saw that so far in 2021, your calculations show 140 million gallons of water were used. Is that correct? Because it didn't even say gallons or cubic feet.
It says gallons. It was
It's
all
gallons.
gallons represented, and that was 2021 total. So
my
there's no
question
2022 numbers up there.
What percentage of that 140 million gallons of water is fresh water as opposed to reclaimed water?
At Preserve, it is roughly 65 to 70% effluent, and the rest is potable. At Mountain View, the numbers are higher for the potable and less effluent, because during the summertime, all the effluent goes to the Preserve. So all summer long, Mountain View gets typically just well water unless we get a rain event or we're doing some special project at the Preserve where we shut down water for a few days, like during airification. Mountain View does get some of the reclaim then.
Good answer. As you build those slides for your next meeting, try and have that kind of information there so that people can see that water use breakdown, because each one of those particular types of water has a different cost.
Yeah, they do
associated with
cost
it, as you
different.
know.
Point taken. This is the point of the show when I say now I'm another meeting smarter.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to give you some constructive guidance here on making a better slide.
Thank you very much.
Number two, for your consideration, almost really, in my opinion, an immediate type need is as we build up the sand base on these golf courses, we now have very significant holes relative to where the drains are and relative where the sprinklers are, and it is absolutely no fun to hit one of those holes with your golf cart as you're accelerating. That needs attention fairly quickly.
So we inherited a lot of those low spots also, but to your point, it is going to get worse over time. But with the project next year, all that's going to be reset at Mountain View, and then we'll be in maintenance mode from there on. So every year, as the sand base builds up, we'll have to do some re-leveling of sprinkler heads and drainage boxes, correct?
I just have one question. You can probably hear me without the mic. We're going to go over here. Oh, I'm sorry.
Easy.
Hey, gentlemen. Yeah, thanks for everything. Matt, on your revenue charts, interesting stuff. Would love to see a cost line associated with those.
And as Paul said, I am now another meeting smarter.
Thank you very much. Paul, I was kind of excited about the Blue Muta experiment. I don't think it turned out all that well. Can you talk a little bit on that and where we're going?
Yeah, so on that experiment, it was on the par threes at the Preserve. So we're at a disadvantage right off the top with that, because the two worst holes on the Preserve are which holes? Number 4 and number 6, right? So those are the par threes. So anything we do to those holes is not going to be a great reflection of success or failure right now in my mind. If you look at 11 and 14, there was some mild success with the Blue Muta. It's still way too early to tell. You don't see some of these results until 2 years down the line. So my plan is to oversee those again with the Bluegrass this fall and see where we are at next year. It's a long-term process, so this isn't a magic bullet. It's not like next year we can say, oh, we're going to only use Bluegrass and then we'll be great from there on out. This is, it's long-term. You got to remember one thing too also, and everyone probably doesn't know this, so I'm going to tell them. We're the only course kind of west of the Mississippi that's even trying it, right? So it's more of a Middle Earth, Kansas, St. Louis type activity that's going on through that part of the country. So we're an outlier for sure. But some success. I'm not willing to say yay or nay yet. How's that sound?
Okay, so that sounds good. And then relative to the sand traps, keep the fairway traps nice and hard, because I hit those and bounce through. So
Thank you.
one question.
You gotta use the mic, please.
Oh, one question. When you use on number 14, Mountain View, at the left corner of the dog leg, there's 30 feet of OB. Why is that there? It's a hell of a penalty if you draw the ball slightly or pull it with a prevailing wind out of the southwest. You got a 2-stroke penalty. Why is that there?
Because you hit the ball off the golf course.
Yeah, well, the pros do too.
Yeah, so that little OB area has been a point of contention of late, and we're in the process of taking a look at that. So just give me just a little bit of time. Come on up, Larry.
You want the cul-de-sac to be part of the golf course?
No, you can't hit it that far.
I'll say he can. Go ahead, Larry, sorry.
I'm a snowbird. And I know there's probably lots of people here that are snowbirds too. Matt, I appreciate your comments when you said you have a vision. My vision doesn't match yours. You know, you say that you enjoy driving around in a cart right now looking at the golf holes. I can't see what it is that you see. When I first started playing here in early 2019, hole number 2 was basically nothing but dirt. Sure, you've added some grass, but I see nothing but dirt half the time when I play. I play with a couple of groups here on Tuesdays and Saturdays, and they're actually making notes now that when you're on those holes, lift your ball, clean it, and find a piece of grass that you can stick it on. And so to me, that's not a lot of improvement over what I first saw when I came here in 2019. This past winter and last winter as well, I thought the preserve was an uglier looking golf course than what it had been when I first arrived in 2019. The conditions you say are improving, I don't see that. Now here's the problem. Being a snowbird, I pay membership dues that are equal to 12 months of the year, even though I only play 6 months. So I'm paying double what most people are paying, correct? So here's the other comment. You made that 30 days from now, there's going to be more grass there and the course is going to be gorgeous. That doesn't help me 1 cent. Didn't help me 1 cent last year when you said that there was more grass here in the summertime than you've seen in the past. What I'm looking for is grass on the golf course through the winter months. Now, I've had the opportunity this past winter to go play some other courses off property. Oro Valley, a number of other ones, and guess what? They had grass that you could actually see. It was green, you could play off of. Here, the lies are so thin, to me it's more sand than it is grass. I'm just wondering, like, how you say we're making progress, but where are we at? Like, when am I going to see the benefit of that in the winter play as opposed to the guys that are playing in the summer?
Maybe you missed the part where I talked about this will be the first year since 2018 when both courses will be overseeded. But you've been playing on dormant Bermuda
Right.
in the winter. Okay, I wasn't bragging about dormant Bermuda. Dormant Bermuda is hard. It was the price we had to pay to create a Bermuda base. You don't play golf here in the summer.
Right.
For the people that do play here in the summer, having grass in the fairways is a new thing. All right? The price that we had to pay to get there was 2 years of dormant fairways to play on in the cold weather season. This was the first time since 2018 that we overseeded, 2019 is when we did the grassing operation at Mountain View. So this is the first year that we had the overseed on Mountain View. But unfortunately, the overseed period was only 2 weeks instead of the recommended 3. There was no overseed at the preserve. I agree with you about the tight lies. I agree that it wasn't a lot of fun to try to play there. And the best players I play with struggle on those lies. But when you come back next fall, 2022, this year, this fall, those fairways will be overseeded. You're going to be playing on this. Oro Valley Views didn't overseed this year. So you couldn't have played the Views in overseed. But we're going to be overseeded, so you're going to have grass like we used to enjoy before we started trying to grow the Bermuda grass. So I'm sorry for frustrating you with my enthusiasm. I agree with you about number 2 at Mountain View. It's an area that was very thin. It was a casualty of the 2-week overseed versus the 3-week overseed. All right, so what you experienced in Mountain View number 2 should not happen in the future. I hope that makes you happier.
Just one more comment then. What about the green on number 2 and on number 11?
I didn't get,
Number 2 green and number 11 green, they've been under repair for how many years now, and I still see no improvement.
yeah.
So we have a problem when they redid the greens. They didn't remove collar dams and obstruction for drainage. So number 2, number 4, number 11, number 15, number 16. Someone tell me if I'm missing one. I'm my own worst critic. Those all have collar dams and have issues with drainage. And when you have a dormant Bermuda playing surface all winter long, there's no recovery. So the more you walk on it, the more you play on it, the more you have to mow it, the more you do things to it, it gets worse and worse over time, not better. So there's plans to fix that, but we got to do it on a time frame that makes sense with the resources.
Hi. My question actually was going to be about the back of the number 11 green, just in terms of the agronomy of it and why it is in the condition that it is. You may have just answered that. And beyond that, I just want to say thank you so much for all of your work. You guys have done so much work, and I don't think you're always appreciated, but I think on the whole, we all appreciate all of your efforts. So thank you.
We thank you for that.
Good afternoon. I'd also like to thank you for taking the time to inform us as to what's going on. My question is to Paul. What killed all the fish on number 18 at the preserve?
They can't wait.
Did they turn this off?
No, it's on. You just got to get.
All right. What killed the fish on hole 18 at the preserve? I'm kind of curious. And frankly, you were out there golfing. I golf there 4 days a week. I'd like to know what was on there that killed those fish.
So fish kills are a normal occurring thing in the world. This one I had tested for the golden algae. We didn't have that in any of the ponds. It wasn't just Preserve 18. There was more in Mountain View 16, as a matter of fact. I got more complaints about that one. So we had it tested. Didn't have the golden algae, which is a good thing. That wasn't killing the fish. I have a professional pond company that we have a monthly service contract with. They didn't find anything out of the ordinary. The hypothesis is, and also HOA 1 was suffering through this in this one pond, and this is what leads us to believe what we're thinking is right. We start to water heavy, so we're turning the water over in the pond a lot more. And at the same time we were doing that, the effluent was getting split between the preserve and Mountain View 16. Mountain View number 8, not so bad. That one hardly ever gets any effluent. But also the pond at HOA 1 was getting the same effluent, and that's where all the fish kill was happening. So I reached out to them. They don't treat with chemicals, so they use UV light to do the things they do to the sewage water. So it wasn't that. But they also, around the same time, turned their lake, their storage pond over and had to refill it. So at the end of the day, the best guess is this, is we drained our ponds down pretty low. They were at a certain temperature, a certain water quality from being there for most of the winter. And we refilled it back with the effluent that was coming straight from the plant, probably at a different temperature, at a different quality. And some of the fish just didn't acclimate to it.
It appears that all your adult fish died in the pond on 18.
What fish?
It appears that all the adult fish
No,
in 18
there's
died
plenty
and
of
about
adult
half the
fish
little
there
ones.
still. There's some that look like submarines.
Are there still?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's some that have been in there for, I'm sure someone from Robeson planted them 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So, no, and if you notice, a lot of the fish were the small, like I call them minnows or shad. We didn't stock that. We stocked carp only. Carp is the only thing we really want in that pond. And believe me, for everyone here, I don't want to kill the carp. I paid for them and they're working for me around the clock, right? And they don't complain usually, they just eat.
Okay, looks like all the questions have been answered, at least the ones you wanted to get up and express. Spread the word out there. If we hit anything on you that you straightened out a rumor that you thought was something else, and now we've given you the right answer, spread that to the others who think these rumors are true. One of the reasons that, or things that we're trying to accomplish as a golf committee is to be straightforward with as much information as we possibly can. And that's why these town hall meetings and also other attempts to get the right answers out to you. So we appreciate you spreading that out to your friends. I guess that's it. Thank you much. And we'll see you in the fall with another town hall.